I was doing the right thing. They were looking for reasons why this had happened. I was anorexic. It was just an awful feeling, awful sensation. It was really, really difficult. They couldn't find anything. I believe it's probably ongoing for the rest of my life. I'm a fitness instructor and personal trainer, and my whole adult life I've been involved in fitness and health. I've been a competitive triathlete for many years. I've been training, competing. I've even helped lots of other people as well to gain their fitness goals and health goals as a personal trainer over many years, and that's something I love doing. That's me. I love being active. I love going out and doing adventurous things. I love traveling. That's my life. Initially, I didn't hesitate to get the vaccine, and I thought I was doing the right thing to do this so we can all move on. We can move on. Everyone can move on. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I've had vaccines before. It's never been a problem, and I thought that was the right thing to do. I had my first Pfizer vaccine in 21, and I had that in my left arm. Initially, I had a very sore arm, like a lot of people had the same, that I heard people saying, so I wasn't too concerned. That went away after a few days, and I kept moving, doing what I normally do. 3 weeks later, I had my second Pfizer vaccine. And initially after that, I instantly got a massive swelling on my armpit. So I did see the doctor the day after having it. The doctor said she's never seen anything like it. So she sent me off for an ultrasound. But there was nothing really conclusive. They said my glands looked a bit enlarged. So after that, I kept training as per normal through that week. I was advised by the nurse who did the vaccine that the more you move, the better. So very highly encouraged to go out and exercise and keep going. So I didn't stop. I kept swimming, I kept running, I kept riding as my normal week were. I kept working. Through that week, I did notice that I was getting more fatigued than normally. I was, for example, going on a standard ride that I normally do with my friends, and I couldn't keep up properly like I normally would, and I was struggling. I felt I was heavy, I was restricted somehow. I just wasn't right. And we were going on a holiday after the 1 week, so we went to Threadbow skiing. While we were there, same sort of feelings of unusually fatigued. We were just walking around, nothing too strenuous, but I felt that I was struggling to keep up with my daughter, and I started to feel, why is this so hard? And everyone else was doing the normal thing. And again, it kind of wiped through my head and didn't think too much of it. We have just landed back in Brisbane at the airport, and all of a sudden, I felt this stab through my lower abdomen across into my back. It was instant. It was quite severe. It got me, what was that? And then it didn't go away, it just stayed there. Over the evening, it got progressively worse, the pain, and me and my partner, close to midnight, we decided I better take you up to emergency, he said, because he thought I might have appendicitis or something, because it just wouldn't go, and I was in a lot of pain by then. So we went to emergency. They took me inside and assessed me. The doctor that saw me also thought maybe it's appendicitis, and they rushed me back down for a second scan to get a better picture from the initial one, because they weren't really looking for that initially. And sure enough, they all came back, and there was a few more people that came back. I can't even remember how many, but there was a few people who came to see me then to say I have an aortic dissection. When I was told I had an aortic dissection, I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. I heard the word aorta, and I thought initially, I'm dying, because I knew that's very close to the heart. I knew that much. They then did numerous of tests on me while I was in hospital. Blood tests, they did complete scans, my whole body. They were looking for reasons why this had happened, and they couldn't find anything. I was on my own as well, mind you, because my partner wasn't allowed in the hospital because there were lockdowns, so he couldn't be there, and I was really, really scared. And then I guess they stabilised me in a way with medication. They gave me all these different drugs to take. And then they said, well, it looked stable enough, so they wanted to send me back home, because normally they treat dissections with medication and then just basically don't do anything that gets your heart rate or blood pressure up. So after 2 weeks, I had to go back for a follow-up scan to see where things were at, to make sure I was okay. So the hospital is only 1 kilometre from my house, so I walked down to the hospital feeling quite confident that, after this, they're going to tell me it's all good and I can do whatever. Didn't quite turn out that way, because after I finished the scan, my phone rang straight away. I only made it inside the door. And they told me that a hematoma had developed above the initial dissection. And this is a very life-threatening situation. So I was called straight back into emergency, into ICU. They needed to do surgery to help me. Otherwise, I wouldn't survive, probably. They kept going for 12 hours. That's how long it took. They put in an aortic graft and they kept me asleep for another 6 hours into the Tuesday. And when I woke up, I had complete organ failure inside me. My liver didn't work, kidneys didn't work, bowels didn't work. I didn't have any saliva in my mouth. I had all these extra complications because of lack of blood supply. So I woke up with a breathing tube and hooked up to multiple machines. Basically, nothing was working. I was kept alive by these machines. I was on very heavy drugs at that time, and those drugs play with my head a lot. I had incidents of hearing voices, seeing things that wasn't there. I lost complete track of time. I don't really recall things properly because I saw it very differently. I heard voices, people talking behind me. I even recall thinking one of the doctors was singing around somewhere in the background, because I just heard and saw. It was really, really scary. I thought people were out to get me. I thought I was going to die. I didn't think I was gonna make it out of there. After 2 weeks in ICU, they started to get rid of some of the tubes I had in me. But once they did me, I could start to take in some fluids and some liquid foods. They sent me off to one of the wards. And during that time, I was full of fluid after the surgery because my kidneys weren't working properly. Even though I was on dialysis, they gradually got some of that fluid off me, and most things came back to normal except for my tummy. My tummy stayed huge. They tried to get more fluid out quite aggressively through dialysis, but it worked everywhere but not my belly. So I looked like I was 9 months pregnant. I had this massive hard belly and it was very painful and uncomfortable, and I was nauseous the whole time. I couldn't eat. I had a sick bag in my hand constantly. I was dry reaching and vomiting many times, every day, every night, because I couldn't keep anything down. I had nutritionists coming in to see me because at this rate I was losing weight. My body was kind of eating itself because I couldn't get enough in because of this massive pressure in my belly. By the end of that stay, they kept doing tests and checking on me to making sure everything was fine with the graft. They kept trying to get me to eat more and more, but I couldn't because I was sick. At the end of the stay at the ward, they sent me home, even though I was still very nauseous. I still couldn't eat and drink properly, and I had this belly. At this stage, I lost a lot of weight. I still have this big belly of fluid. I still had to go to dialysis because my kidney function was still very poor. They put a port in my chest so I can continue dialysis from home. Still sick daily. I didn't walk anywhere without my sick bag because that's how fragile I was. I kept going to dialysis for that first week at home. Every second day I went to the hospital. I spent about 4 to 5 hours in there getting rid of more fluid, but the belly wouldn't budge. So at the end of that first week, when I was back for third or fourth visit to dialysis, and then I was sent on to a hepatologist who deals with liver injuries and problems, and he diagnosed me with a chyle leak, and they believed that was damage from the surgery, that my lymphatic system had been nicked somewhere along the line, and that was causing chyle to leak from my lymphatic system into my belly. So they put in a little tube into my belly, guided by ultrasound, and they drained out all this fluid. They took 6 litres from my belly over 6 hours, I think, and everything just went down. As I left the hospital then, I was told I couldn't eat any food with fat in it because chyle is produced by your lymphatic system when you eat fatty foods. So I was put on a low-fat diet to try to let this leak repair itself. Right now, it's 18 months past the initial injury, and my life has changed dramatically. I can no longer train as the athlete I was. I can go out and I'm attempting to exercise. I do exercise, but it's very, very low key. I get very fatigued quickly, so I have to keep everything very, very low. I can't do very much. I often have days when I'm just drained, really, really tired, and I don't leave my bed. It still happens to this day. I have depression. I'm depressed because mentally it's played a big part as well, not just physically, not being able to do and be the person you are. I found that really difficult at times. I'm getting better at it, but I still have days when I don't get out of bed. And that's 18 months past this. My life will never be the same. I will never be able to push my body again. I can no longer compete and be who I am. It took me a little while. Me and my partner had thrown every question we can think of to the hospital staff while I was back in hospital. And as every single one was ruled out on this list, there was only the vaccine left. That's the only thing that had changed. I had the vaccine 14 days before this happened. So we were asking those big questions then, is this the vaccine? Most people were blank. It was very obvious they did not want to talk about it. There was not even an answer in a lot of the times I asked people, could this be the vaccine? They just stopped talking and got quiet and walked away. That was some reactions. On the other hand, there were some lovely, lovely nurses that looked after me through my time in the hospital. One lady came into my room at night when there was no one else around. She closed the door. She had a good look around to make sure there was no one listening in. And then she spoke to me with a very quiet voice to say, when I get out of there, I do need to take this further. I need to find somebody that will listen to me and investigate this further, she said. I see a lot of things and I read a lot of things. This is in the vascular ward, mind you, and you need to take this further. I had a handful of nurses finding me and contacting me via other friends through social media, telling me, I'm so sorry we couldn't talk to you about it. We've been told not to talk about it. They're only allowed to say things that promotes the vaccine. They cannot talk about any other things that was going against the grain. And they were also telling me that they now have decided to leave their jobs. They will be put out of work because they were not going to take the vaccine. They knew something was going on. They've seen way too much. And they personally messaged me and made me contact them. I called a couple of them as well and had to talk about it, and they offered help me if there's anything I needed on the outside. I did not know we were giving something that was a complete experiment that had been tested, but they weren't giving us the information. I did not know any of that. So they knew about side effects from this, and we were not told that this can potentially happen at this high rate that it is happening. I would like people to have an open mind. I would like people to do a little bit of research themselves before, if they're considering having a vaccine. I want people to hear this story and make them think twice about decisions they make for themselves, for their family. I want to let people know that I'm not judgmental towards anybody who didn't think the vaccine would harm anybody. I didn't think so initially either. And I guess when you're living something, going through something, you very, very quickly learn. I do understand there is a lot of people out there that hasn't had anything happen to them or their immediate family. And I understand it can be hard for them to, I guess, believe and understand and wanting to hear this. But I think the more we know and the more we can share, the better for everybody.